It's time for a shmup schmackdown. The shoot 'em up community is extremely passionate about their favourite genre. I admit I'm not much of a shmupper. I enjoy the occasional go, but I generally find them too difficult and frustrating for my tastes. This week I'm looking at two of the 16-bit era's finest, GRADIUS III and R-Type 3. They are, let's be honest, extremely similar games, and it's going to be interesting to see how they differ and decide which one I prefer, because the debate between these two games has been raging for years. Admittedly, GRADIUS was released about 3 years before R-Type, so it will understandably be a bit rougher on the technical side, but that also puts more pressure on R-Type to be a more modern experience. So let's start with GRADIUS. Is it GRADIUS? 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 Whatever. Having played countless hours of Parodius, I felt very comfortable with Gradius's gameplay interface. It's practically identical, just without the crazy humour. The graphics are pretty nice, though not as good as Parodius. When the screen gets cluttered, it does slow down pretty badly though, which is a pain. Even though it's not silly like Parodius, GRADIUS III still has a real sense of fun. I like the power-up system where you can choose what you want to improve. I had a surprising amount of fun with GRADIUS, but as expected, it's cripplingly difficult in some parts, but that's what it's all about, isn't it? Now on to R-Type. The opening is very cinematic. The game seems a bit more serious and dramatic in tone than GRADIUS. The general gameplay is, well, it's very similar. You don't get to choose your power-ups though, you just get given them depending on what you pick up. There's lots of bizarre alien designs in this one. Check this out. This boss is shooting gigantic sperm. Ew. R-Type's not bad, but I didn't find anything about it that really stood out as being really good or really original. The level design's pretty unimaginative for the most part. The fact that it was released well after Gradius, Axelay and Parodius, I would have expected it to be offering something really amazing, but it doesn't. It's just a standard, solid shoot 'em up that's pretty good. In conclusion, I'm no shmup expert, but I found Gradius the more enjoyable game. It's got better music, more inventive level design, and just better sense of fun. R-Type's not bad, but I don't think it managed to catch the magic Konami put into their shoot 'em ups. I'll say Gradius stands and R-Type sits. Parodius is better than either of them though. So before Michael Crichton wrote the official sequel to Jurassic Park, Ocean went ahead and made a new game anyway. The story goes that Biosyn, that's InGen's rival company for those who haven't read the book, Biosyn wants to steal everything that they can from Jurassic Park before it gets nuked. And meanwhile, John Hammond has more delusions of grandeur and he reckons he can resurrect the park, so he gets Alan Grant, yeah that's Sam Neill, to go back to the park and basically kill dinosaurs and Biosyn people. Now this doesn't make sense on so many levels. For starters, Alan Grant is a paleontologist. He digs up dinosaur bones. Who would choose a paleontologist to go on a rampage killing mission against other people? Trained soldiers, no less. That's just stupid. Anyway, logic be damned, check out the awesome opening cutscene.
Have your scientists ready to go immediately?
This is about as close as the Super Nintendo came to FMV. I mean, it's obviously nothing amazing now, but it was very cinematic for the time.
Prepare for drop! Go! Go! Go!
The game itself is a very standard run and gun affair. You can choose which mission you want to do from the start, which is nice, since the game is also very difficult, so the general flow is attempt a level, inevitably fail, attempt a different level, fail, attempt a different level, and keep going like that until you realise that the fun factor in this game doesn't outweigh the frustration of losing all the time. The controls aren't too bad, the dinos all look pretty good, but I can't shake the feeling that everything about this game is unnecessary. The first Jurassic Park was something really different, whereas this is much more your standard side-scrolling jump, shoot and die kind of game. I know there's some folks who really dig this type of game, and they'd probably love this. It's not for me though. Sure, it could have been much worse, but I just couldn't feel the love with Jurassic Park 2, and I don't really think this game has a right to exist. The Lion King is still a fantastic film. Time hasn't aged its appeal. Is the licensed game still playable though? Like the Mega Drive version of Aladdin, The Lion King was made by Virgin Interactive using real animation direct from the Disney studios. As such, the game looks fantastic. It's more or less identical on both Mega Drive and Super Nintendo, but Sega's machine couldn't display the same amount of colours as Nintendo's. That, and it doesn't have the vocals like the Super NES version does, but other than that, they're pretty much the same. You play as Simba, first as a little cub, then later on as an adult lion, returning to the Pride Lands to become king. There's a couple of minor little cutscenes between levels with voice samples too, which was super novelty back in 1994.
Everything the light touches is our kingdom.
But I always found it strange that the majority of the story goes completely untold. There is absolutely no transition between Simba being a child and an adult. One level finishes, the next level starts. That's it. There was a pretty strong assumption, I think, that the person playing the game has seen the film and is just wanting to interact with particular scenes. Although there is a bit of license taken as well. For example, at one point, Simba has to beat up a gorilla, which definitely was not in the film. As a cub, Simba's main attack is to jump on the enemy's heads. Oh, that's original. But when he grows up, he swipes with his claws. Well, take that. Sometimes the collision detection can be infuriating. Oh, I'm sure I made that jump. Even though it starts off fairly pedestrian, this is actually not a very easy game. Some levels would be way too challenging for little kids. In fact, I've never managed to finish this game properly. Luckily, there's a level select code at the title screen because that volcano level drives me to insanity. The Lion King is one of the better Disney games. It feels very authentic with the animation and the music just like the film. I'd recommend it for people who enjoy the movie, but just be aware that the best levels are at the start of the game. The second half just gets a bit crap, and it's full of really cheap deaths. If it had had a couple more months of fine-tuning the gameplay, I'd say it's a stand-up, but it's not quite there. Coming up next week, it's polygons all round with the third Super FX game, as well as Sega's famous arcade racer. And after that, we wave a final fond farewell to the Nintendo Entertainment System. Catch you on the flip side. Peace out, dudes.